Hi, this video is my fourth video and it is going to be talking about the story of our lives. So it's going to be talking about how Freud thought the id, the ego, and the superego has influenced our look and idea of what is art in a way. So first, let's try to understand the three uh, personalities of the psyche. So first, the id, it's the part of our personality that we're born with. It is our pleasure principle, so our sexual drives or death instinct, where it's our basic primal instincts or drives that we are born with, and that uh, it's basically in our unconscious, and we can only basically reach our unconscious through hypnosis, and it is frowned upon because it is our deepest unwilling thoughts, where the ego is soon developed by 3 years old, and it is trying to please the id through a realistic way. Uh, and the superego suppresses urges of the id and the ego to act morally instead of realistically, trying to do the good instead of what reality really is. Also, through the picture of, before we get to the actual piece of art that we'll be analyzing, the picture that's going to pop up soon is going to be the iceberg, which is how we normally represent the three psyches of Freud's psychoanalytic theory, which really helps you understand what's in the conscious, preconscious, and unconscious part. Now, we are going to look at Salvador Dali's picture, The Persistence of Memory. And we're going to try to understand different aspects of the picture through the id, the ego, and the superego. So when it comes to the id, the orange clock in the bottom left corner has a bunch of ants covering it, which can resemble the death instinct because of the decay or the time is running out. And at times it can resemble female genitalia. The ants could be the driving force of the death instinct in the dream, because if you look, there is a figure in the middle that's white and it looks like it has a closed eye with many eyelashes. So that could resemble the ego aspect, that it's only a dream. So it's trying to please the id by dreaming it instead of actually acting upon it. And the superego likes a moral aspect instead of reality. So it will like the morality of death, that it could be vast. Anything can happen through of the ocean leads to the vastness of options. And the hard rocks of the mountain and the tiny rock in the foreground, or middle ground, I forget what it's called, is actually could resemble the reality of life, which can resemble how we are born into a society that's already pre-made, so we are born into it, possibly understanding different ways that we could possibly pass away. And then my interpretation of it all, after analyzing the different aspects of the picture through how the orange clock is the id because of the death instinct, and then we try to please it through the dream, and then the superego wants us to be suppressed urges of the id, so we don't really want to act upon or think about those naughty per se thoughts, but to the ego we want to behave morally instead of realistically. That makes me think of that there are many interpretations of the artwork, the persistence of memory, My interpretation is that the id sees the death coming soon because of the person's dream is melting. So as you can see, the clocks are droopy and saggy, so that means it could represent, in my opinion, is that time is melting away. There's not a lot of time left. And the ego would please the id by dreaming of this, so that way we can try to understand the desired representation of sleeping. So we could try to understand that this way that we thought of the way we dreamt could actually mean that way is the way we might pass. Which leaves left the superego. This part of the personality would look at the hard rocks within the art form of the reality and show the vastness. So that the superego would want to think that melting of time that we're going to slowly drag on is reality. However, the superego wants you to morally think that, is that really how we are going to pass away? A slow, gradual death? Whereas overall, the ego pleases the death instinct of the id by dreaming of this idea, which allows for no grief to be developed. Since the task was not completed, that pleases the id to a certain extent, whereas the superego will make the person think of the vastness of reality world through the mountains and ocean. So now I interpreted the best to my ability. Now I'm going to answer the question. Is art cathartic? Does it help us leave our pains behind? Or is it a means for not forgetting the scars that have been left behind? So, I believe art is cathartic by means of not forgetting the scars that have been left behind. Paintings, to my understanding and my ability to interpret, is that artists make paintings through hardships and they want to paint their feelings so that when something is going hard in their life, they want to express that pain and they want to alleviate through, basically, Freud would call it like art therapy, because he believes that painting or any form of art is very therapeutic and is very good of relieving your pains. But I believe that every time we look back at that painting, it just reminds us of what we went through. And then as a viewer in the audience, that emotion can bring up old scars in our own lives. That is what I believe the artist wants us to feel. And even though you can have happiness triggered as well, many emotions are really how they got through a hard time. And however, Dali's presence of memory triggers the emotion of a feared death. How that you don't really know how we are gonna pass away, and that can be elaborated from losing a loved one, depending on how deep the scars are, determines how much emotion will be portrayed from or expressed from the audience member. Also, constant dreaming of the vastness of death can be very hard, because the constant dreaming can lead to many possibilities and to many questions are left unanswered. And that is about it. Like, I believe that makes us, many paintings do, especially this one, makes us think of what is actually really going to happen to us in the future, and how are we actually going to get by with our life. And that's all. Bye.